Interested in the story of the richest man in human history? Who became the first billionaire in history? Stay tuned for the answers to those questions. Hello dear friends, today we are going to talk about perhaps the most famous businessman in history, John Rockefeller. Today we are going to find out how Rockefeller came up with the idea of making money from oil and became the first dollar billionaire on the planet. John D. Rockefeller the Sr., founder of the most famous dynasty, was one of the first to realize the importance of oil for the world economy and made a huge fortune on it. He created Standard Oil, the prototype of the oil giant ExxonMobil. His former head, Rex Tillerson, was the US Secretary of State. The company operates around the world, including Russia, without fear of sanctions. At the height of its influence and 150 years after the company's founding, the Rockefeller Family Foundation has said it wants to stop investing in the oil and gas industry, including in its native ExxonMobil. Mama's boy. The patriarch of the Rockefeller family, John Davison Rockefeller, was born in New York State on July 8, 1839 and lived nearly 98 years. Thanks to his business acumen, diligence, and longevity, the family amassed the world's first billion-dollar fortune. Adjusted for inflation, Rockefeller the Sr.'s net worth at the time of his death was estimated at more than $300 billion. Biographer Alan Nevins, in his book John Rockefeller, an Industrialist and Philanthropist, notes the businessman's composure, cold rhythm, and remarkable capacity of work. "I was a very balanced and serious guy," John Rockefeller recalled in his old age. In this respect, he was not like his father William, a bright, cheerful, jolly fellow, a joker and a lover of women. William had been a lumberjack, then bought his own farm, but he did not bother with hard work, preferring to engage in dubious ventures, declaring himself a famous cancer specialist, disappearing for long periods, returning dressed up with thoroughbred horses or penniless. The future billionaire took after his mother, who believed in the benefits of hard work and strict frugality on the verge of avarice. She belonged to a Baptist congregation and was extremely religious. Because of her upbringing, John Rockefeller always made donations to the Baptist church, even when working as a small clerk and saving for lunches. In his rare moments with the family, the father would literally train the children in the trade, cheating and ripping them off to the bone, thus wanting to prepare the offsprings for adulthood. In John, his father's adventurousness melded with his mother's rationalism and methodicalism. He did not receive a good education. William was against his son going to university. The ability to count and keep the book was, in his father's opinion, enough to go into business. And no wonder, the country, driven by the spirit of greed of millions of Americans, was developing at a breakneck pace. Railways were being built, steel mills were being built, the gold rush in California had just subsided. German sociologist Max Weber, in his book Protestants, Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism, wrote about this time. The pursuit of profit, stripped of its religious and ethical content, takes on the character of unbridled passion in the United States, at times close to a sports passion. John Rockefeller entered this race at the age of 16, starting to work as a clerk in a shipping company. 3 years later, together with a partner, he founded his own grain, meat and fodder trading company. The Civil War helped consolidate the business. Unlike his brother Frank, John did not join the army but continued to earn money. Thanks to military supplies, Clark & Rockefeller became a solid firm with a large income. Without friends or partners. In the late 1850s, the first oil well was drilled in Pennsylvania. Just a few years later, the country was hit by an oil boom. The outbreak of war between the North and the South worsened the trade balance in the United States, and oil exports became an important source of income for the country. Clark & Rockefeller initially focused on shipping crude oil and paraffin, but growing market volumes attracted the attention of partners. Extraction was seen as a risky business, but refining was a more stable business, so the partners built and ran a refinery, says Alan Nevins. Very quickly, the side business outgrew the commission trade in agricultural products. The company's oil division was bought by Rockefeller from the partners at auction, Nevins notes. The bidding started at $500, but the parties were unwilling to concede. The price reached a record $72,000. Rockefeller, already a firm believer in the great future of oil, did not hesitate to bid $72,500, a lot of money at that time. The bewildered companions raised their hands. "I always point to the day I broke up with them as the beginning of my success in life," the businessman later recalled. So at 26, John Rockefeller became the owner of his own oil business. With the help of bribery, intrigue and threats, the devout deacon, as his acquaintances called him, secured discounts from rail carriers on transportation of oil products and proceeded to seize control of the market. Gathering the clan. Life is full of stories about fortune slipping through our fingers. In such cases, Americans say the fourth generation walks in the same shirt. American lawyer James Hughes Jr., in his book Family Wealth: How to Save Human Intellectual and Financial Capitals, describes the cycle from dirt to riches and back again. The first generation of the family digs in the potato field, has no quality education, but through hard work, austerity and good luck makes a fortune. The second generation goes to university, wears fancy clothes, builds mansions and enters high society. The third generation is classical golden youth. They grow up in luxury, do little work and squander the money their fathers and grandfathers left them. Finally, the fourth generation is once again digging in the potato field. The Rockefellers avoided a similar fate. John Rockefeller Sr. had an only son, John Rockefeller Jr. This was aided, among other things, by two global world conflicts. Military hardware required huge amounts of fuel and lubricants, which the family's oil companies produced. Still, the son did not inherit his father's fanatical enthusiasm for business and devoted his life to family management and charity. John Jr. essentially created the Rockefeller dynasty. Just as John Sr. Rockefeller Jr. had 6 children. This generation of the family inherited the management system, which even today helps the 4th, 5th and 6th generations of the family to preserve their capital. Rockefeller Jr. established a special office to manage the family fortune and assets, which can be visited by the relatives who are interested in effective management of the fortune. He also owned the idea of family gatherings when all members of the clan come to the family estate every year. Confirmation of the system by each successive generation and willingness of each generation to participate in family management is of paramount importance for viability and longevity of any family management system, says family lawyer James Hughes. Regular discussions of common issues ensure that Rockefeller's chosen system of governance works effectively. His practical methods of allocating family roles and engaging outside consultants have been adopted by many other of the world's richest families with similar management systems in place. The positive role of John Rockefeller Sr.'s sudden decision not to force his son to work in the family business is not entirely obvious. After all, it is usually the direct descendant who continues the work his father started. However, Rockefeller Sr. realized that it would be much more profitable to unlock his son's potential in what he really enjoys: family management and philanthropy. Hughes Jr., the lawyer, agrees. "I'm convinced that a father's willingness to let his son pursue happiness in his own way is one of the best decisions in terms of long-term preservation of capital." The great globalizer. John Rockefeller Jr.'s father's decision, in fact, became a family rule. He encouraged his children to seek their own business. As a result, the third-generation descendants of the family were quite successful in politics, international banking, and investing in promising industries. John Sr.'s most ambitious grandson, Nelson, took after great-grandfather William in bright, active character. He commissioned the Mexican artist Diego Rivera in 1932-33 to paint the mural of Rockefeller Center under construction in New York. However, the leftists' collaboration with the money bag ended in scandal. The frescoes depicted Rivera entertaining bourgeois people, one of whom was very similar to the founder of the Rockefeller Empire. This did not seem enough, and the heroes of the composition were Lenin, as well as Trotsky, Engels and Marx, holding a red banner with the call "Proletarians of all countries, unite in the Fourth International." Nelson Rockefeller demanded that the revolutionary be replaced by the face of the unknown man, but Rivera refused and the mural was destroyed. In the 1960s, Nelson became governor of New York, then vice president, but his cherished dream to become president of the United States has never been realized. Nelson Rockefeller was a regular member of the Bilderberg Club, an informal annual conference of the most influential businessmen, politicians, and heads of leading media outlets. Conspiracists referred to members of the club as the secret world government. Nelson's own brother David was also a regular member. Through David's efforts, Chase Manhattan Bank became the first American bank to obtain a license in the USSR. Since the 1960s, banker and globalist by conviction, David Rockefeller constantly appeared in the territory of the Soviet Union and later Russia. Like many of his ancestors, David was known for his philanthropic activities. He donated over $100 million to his alma mater, Harvard University. Nevertheless, his demonized image has become a symbol of a global threat to political and economic institutions around the world. David Rockefeller passed away in March 2017 at the age of 101. In last year's Forbes billionaire ranking, Rockefeller was ranked 581st with a fortune of $3.3 billion. In early May 2018, a charity auction was held at New York's Rockefeller Center at Christie's Auction, featuring personal possessions, family heirlooms, and an art collection assembled by several generations of Rockefellers. The current head of the Rockefeller family office, David Rockefeller's son, David Rockefeller Jr., said the proceeds of the sale would go to charity. In the spring of 2018, Venrock Associates, a venture capital firm founded with Rockefeller money, announced its interest in cryptocurrency startups. Following these reports, cryptocurrencies immediately rose in price. Perhaps the powerful family decided to switch from oil to something more modern. What fact in the biography of the most famous billionaire in history struck you the most?